Today on the program Ukraine Today, the most relevant news of the week. The SBU attacked a factory important to the Russian military-industrial complex. At least 2 impacts have been recorded. The Russians have once again launched a massive attack on Ukraine. Sumy, Kharkiv and Dnipropetrovsk regions were under attack. A meeting between Zelensky and Putin may still take place. India has betrayed Russia and has started looking for alternatives to Russian oil. China, on the other hand, is getting even more involved in the war. The PRC is secretly supplying Russia with engines for UAVs. And the conflict between Russia and Azerbaijan continues to escalate. Good day, my name is Eva Nikolashvili, and this is Ukraine Today. Like and subscribe, and let's get started. Ukrainian drones have attacked a Russian factory under sanctions. Drones from the Security Service of Ukraine struck on the night of the 26th of July. They hit the signal enterprise in Russia's Stavropol. One of the strikes was caught on video. One of the strikes hit workshop number 5. There, expensive imported equipment is located. Another impact was recorded in building number 1. That is where the radio electronic devices workshop is located. Overall, the signal plant specializes in the production of electronic warfare systems, radar and radio navigation equipment, remote control radio devices, and operates for the Russian military-industrial complex. The enterprise is under sanctions from the EU, the US, Ukraine, and while Ukrainian drones were targeting military facilities, Russia once again attacked the civilian population. They struck with drones, missiles, and glide bombs. Sumy, Kharkiv, and Dnipropetrovsk regions were under fire. There are dead and wounded. Among the victims are in particular rescue workers. They arrived to extinguish a fire in Kharkiv when the enemy struck again. The president of Ukraine immediately responded to yet another shelling by the occupiers. Volodymyr Zelensky emphasized that there can be no silence in response to such attacks.
There definitely cannot be any silence in response to such strikes. And Ukrainian long-range drones are making sure of that. Russian military enterprises, Russian logistics, and Russian airports must feel that Russia's own war has real consequences for them. The accuracy of our drones, the daily nature of Ukraine's responses, these are among the arguments that will definitely bring peace closer.
There may not be silence, but a meeting between Zelensky and Putin is actually quite possible. At least that's what Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan says. He stated that a fundamental agreement had been reached regarding the holding of a summit of the leaders. According to him, during the meeting between the Ukrainian and Russian delegations on the 23rd of July, they discussed, among other things, the conditions under which the leaders of the countries could meet.
At the meeting, they discussed how and under what conditions the leaders should meet. An important agreement was reached to hold the Leaders' Summit in Turkey. The negotiating groups play an important role here. As we continue to discuss this issue more thoughtfully, I see a willingness to meet. I believe that if we continue in this way, a temporary solution will emerge. Not everyone is ready to accept this proposal. We are working on creating the conditions for this.
China is supplying drone engines to the Russian Federation. This is being done secretly under the guise of refrigerators. Reuters reports this. How does this scheme work, and what are the volumes of supply involved? How does the US view such cooperation between Pyongyang and Moscow?
We are about to delve into a comprehensive exploration of the subject matter, providing you with an extensive array of additional information and intricate specifics that will be presented in the upcoming segments of this discussion. Please prepare to receive a wealth of further details as we proceed.
We had a developing unique Russian cooperation with K answered
A new list of dual-use goods, which was considered in 2024, has made things more complicated for the Kremlin.
Regulations.
10 categories of products ranged from toxins and microorganisms to aerosol technology. Among them, thousands of products were distributed across nearly 140 batches.
Now, Russia's share is the fourth largest operation in Kinsk. Do you understand? This is the method for everyone.
China turned to helping Russia's enemies.
We have always tried to find a compromise on any issue. But after 6
months, we see that there are only a few left. 55 units of energy sold by the company Shaman are still being secretly routed through Shell employees to the Russian state drone project Kupol plant. But for this, they came up with a different naming industrial refrigerators.
Tradition and economic pressures are growing rapidly.
Reuters talks about how Celestial and the Kremlin lost the public. Kupol plant is listed in the sanctions lists of the European Union, the USA, Canada, Ukraine, and the public. Thanks to the mobilization, the Russian defense enterprise decided to increase the production of RPA-1 strike drones.
At the highly anticipated victory parade in the year 2025, an event of considerable geopolitical significance, attended by the esteemed President Vladimir Putin and the distinguished President Xi Jinping. At a critical juncture, when the global shortage of essential technological components and vital manufacturing supplies continues to persist and severely impact various industries, the advanced and highly destructive Harpy drone system is deployed in exceptionally large numbers and utilized with devastating effect against both crucial military installations and vulnerable civilian targets, thereby causing widespread and truly significant damage to absolutely critical national infrastructure, including power grids, communication networks, and transportation hubs.
And let's lose is determined by many sovereign means in Ukraine. According to Ukrainian military intelligence, Russia is completing approximately 500 of these drones every month. Double electromechanical looms Kupol is one of the largest farmers in Russia. According to the internet company Report, Kupol signed a contract with the Department for Sales. More than 6,000 Harpy Drive 1s in 2025,
which is a truly remarkable and significant increase, representing 3 times more than the previous period. This year, an impressive and substantial number, more than 1.5 million individuals, have been recorded.
Over 1,000 units have already been successfully delivered to the front lines of the operation.
This is a relevant product with no analogs, and that's important for our army.
Kupol in Izevsky is focused on the development and sale of microchips for military drones. The work is carried out entirely in 3 stages. This is not the first time Ukraine has struck this child production facility in Udmurtia. Ukrainian drones hit the facility in January 2025
as well. Oh my God!
Workshops are being hit, where metal work is done, microchips are stored, and those very advanced UAVs are being produced. China has noted that it needs to raise expectations about
Russia, yes, but our valued partners have certainly heard what was clearly said. But we absolutely cannot assume that they will take immediate action right now. They have obligations, international obligations.
In response, the US is ramping up its rhetoric toward Russia and China and is demonstrating its readiness to take decisive action.
The People's Republic of China, a significant global economic power, firmly believes and anticipates with considerable certainty that the current temporary and fragile trade truce, a crucial pause in the ongoing economic tensions and disputes between the world's 2 largest and most influential economies, specifically referring to China itself and the United States of America, will indeed continue to remain firmly in place and be upheld throughout the entirety of the upcoming month, thereby extending this period of reduced trade friction and allowing for further potential negotiations and stability in international commerce?
China is playing with fire. If Trump decides to keep the tariffs or introduce new subsidy requirements, this could affect up to 70% of current exports.
Another blow to the terrorist country's economy. In India, they have started looking for alternatives
to Russian oil, which continues to be a significant topic of discussion and concern in global markets. We will delve into more comprehensive details and further analysis regarding this situation in the upcoming segment. providing a deeper understanding of the current developments and their potential impact.
When the military conflict between Russia and Ukraine began, we were buying, as I recall, 0.2% of all our crude oil from Russia. Today, yes, you are absolutely right. This figure has increased greatly. But at that time, during this period, India developed its neighboring subsidies, and we went from buying oil from 27 countries to 40 countries. But if questions arise, whether to buy with proximity 1 or 2, we made it clear from the beginning that we buy where we need to.
This is all because of the tariffs that President Trump imposed for 50 days on 3 major buyers of Russian oil.
Putin, along with Donald Trump, will impose significant tariffs on those nations who continue to purchase Russian oil, specifically including major global economies such as China, India, and Brazil. These 3 major countries collectively purchase about 80% of Russia's non-sanctioned oil, thereby continuing to fuel the Russian war machine's ongoing operations. President Trump will introduce measures to punish them for helping Putin.
First and foremost, this was directed at China and India. Brazil, by the way, to a lesser extent, because Brazilians don't buy as much oil from Russia as China and India do, respectively. And these 50 days were given by the Trump administration so that China and India could find alternative sources of oil supply. In other words, this was made clear. Friends, you have 50 days, look for alternatives. If you don't find them, a tariff will be imposed on your products.
On the one hand, it is becoming increasingly evident and undeniably clear that the protracted and devastating conflict that Russian President Vladimir Putin had so desperately desired to initiate and subsequently sought to exploit for his own geopolitical ambitions and strategic objectives has in fact not unfolded according to his initial calculations or expectations. This war, which he envisioned as a swift and decisive military operation, intended to achieve specific political outcomes and consolidate power, has instead devolved into a prolonged and arduous struggle marked by unforeseen challenges, significant human cost, and widespread international condemnation. The initial premise upon which this military intervention was launched, and the subsequent narrative propagated by the Kremlin, are now being rigorously scrutinized and increasingly challenged by the unfolding realities on the ground. The strategic aims that Putin had hoped to achieve through this aggressive act of war, including the subjugation of a sovereign nation and the reassertion of a sphere of influence, are proving to be far more elusive and complex than initially anticipated. This growing realization underscores a fundamental miscalculation in the Kremlin's assessment of the situation, leading to a protracted conflict that continues to have profound and far-reaching implications for regional stability and global security.
1.5 million. In other words, they were the ones making money for Russia. And if they are built, and if the countries in between are built because no one wants tariffs from the US and the EU, then according to this, the Russian economy could be built up. Well, consider if this is released on the 2nd of September, or say in October, now I think it will be very difficult for the Russian economy to hold out until the place
2026. And it seems that this process cannot stop.
After the introduction of fines for searching extremist materials, Russians began massively searching for these very extremist materials. Starting the 1st of September, fines ranging from 3,000 to 5,000 rubles will be imposed in the Russian Federation for searching prohibited extremist materials on the internet. The law has already been approved by the Federation Council. In response to this legislative decision, the number of queries containing the phrase extremist materials on Yandex and Google has increased by hundreds of times. Some very unusual items have ended up on the list of banned materials. Posters depicting Putin with makeup, the song Jerusalem by Chechen bard Timur Mutsuraev from the film Balabanov's War, the article The Main Commandments of Jesus Christ and the poem Ode to the Capture of Jerusalem. The Russian authorities are increasingly trying to establish control over messengers and foreign software. Russian officials are now ordered to conduct correspondence only through the MAX program controlled by security services. Exclusive details next.
and of course under the surveillance of defense services. They
are losing this very seriously. As we know, digitalization in Moscow is extremely advanced. There are cameras installed everywhere, facial recognition, and you can even take the metro using facial recognition. They tell you, go ahead, comrade, Facebook has been added. This demonstrates a high level of control.
At first, they talked about gangs. WhatsApp is under suspicion, and Telegram seems like it's ours, but it still collects data. Because if something isn't directly connected to the Kremlin, it raises questions.
With older, more traditional messengers, you simply can't read the messages. Yes, and of course, there are different things and different methods to effectively access and interestingly read. We signal that now it is significant that it's impossible to view.
And in numerous other contexts, various officials are indeed compelled and obligated to employ specific methods or systems, ensuring that their subsequent responses, communications, and declarations can be thoroughly and accurately read, comprehended, and properly documented by all relevant parties. This imperative arises from a critical need to maintain transparency, accountability, and clarity in their interactions and pronouncements. The necessity to make these responses readily understandable is paramount for fostering public trust, facilitating seamless interdepartmental coordination, and guaranteeing that all official statements are unambiguous and accessible to a broad audience, including citizens, stakeholders, and other governmental bodies. This often involves strict adherence to particular protocols or established technological platforms specifically designed to standardize communication and prevent any potential misinterpretation, thereby streamlining administrative processes and significantly enhancing the overall efficiency and effectiveness of governmental operations and public service delivery.
So what else is there? What features are being built? For example, this messenger can scan everything on your phone, not just your messengers, but everything else on your phone as well. So we can mention that the authorities don't have enough control, but they want to increase
that. And mind you, Max, it's not just the messenger. Nothing in Russia happens just for the sake of it. The app has access to the camera, microphone geolocation, and other smartphone features. And this also signals that it's a malicious application.
Anyone who needs it will use it, primarily, of course, the security services that monitor the internet. This includes the FSB, the relevant police departments, and of course the presidential administration.
Law and control, as Kutushin thoughtfully taught and meticulously explained, are fundamental principles that can, of course, continue to be upheld and maintained. Furthermore, the unrestricted and unimpeded functionality of this particular messenger application specifically, if it comprehensively covers and accesses sensitive phone data, then even if individuals choose to consistently utilize and rely upon other alternative messaging platforms, this messenger will still undeniably and persistently allow for direct and unhindered access to all of that crucial phone data.
This is something you need to ask the technical people about. Theoretically, this is possible, and that's also why they are introducing it. Or why bother? Why introduce it at all?
In the first place, in an attempt to protect itself from external losses, Russia is increasing its focus on digital preservation. The only question is where this tactic will lead.
All of this shows that the current methods of control, even though it seems like there are already so many, are still not enough. So they keep coming up with more and more new laws, new messengers, new something else. They want to have complete control over people's thoughts. First the officials, and then everyone else. Well, as they say, we've already read all about this in the book.
1984. Russia is fighting for total control. It's mostly not about communication, but about eavesdropping. The main thing is that everything complies with GOST.
The authorities of Azerbaijan have detained 2 former Wagner fighters who fought against Ukraine. And in Russia, the general responsible for shooting down the Azerbaijani passenger plane has been promoted. It seems that the undeclared war between Baku and Moscow is gaining momentum.
He became a deputy of the 11th Army. He was the one who, in July last year, gave the order to shoot down the aircraft that was heading to Grozny. At that particular time, the Russian side did not officially acknowledge his egregious crime, and now, quite astonishingly, they are actively promoting the very general who was responsible for the tragic killing of approximately 40 innocent passengers. In this
video, we were told that we lost the line, so what do we have? Azerbaijan cannot decide on such matters. We know that they are fully aware of who did this and why it happened.
Accordingly, Baku is preparing a package of documents to file a lawsuit against Russia in international courts. This was stated by the president of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, at a media forum in Shusha. At this forum, he also addressed the incident involving the Ukrainian army and Ukrainian journalists and unequivocally apologized for his assistance to Ukraine.
My response has not changed from what I said back then, and I think this meets the aspirations of the Ukrainian people. I have never agreed with the opposite. This is the main answer. This is what we have done.
Relations between Putin and Aliyev are at risk. At the same time, Wagner PMC mercenaries were present in Azerbaijan. Both were serving as a warden in Russian correctional colonies before they were recruited by Wagner. Two Azerbaijanis turned to the use of troops and operations in Ukraine.
The main directorate kept Wagner PMC fighters who were operating on the Russian side in Ukraine, making them the most direct target in order to preserve the Kremlin's largest military organization. This is a bold move that not only maintains Russian influence in the public Caucasus, but also actively seeks to preserve this insurgent post-Soviet system. This is the first time a post-Soviet country is being protected from its own citizens who are participating in the Wagner PMC.
The Kremlin is already responding to its actions regarding Azerbaijan. Senator Karasin, who was previously Lavrov's deputy, mentions that the conclusions are in the hands of the Downed East.
The steps of the Downed East, those who have been systematically brought down, keep Russia on the perimeter of our border by creating modern states, so-called brotherly republics. A long process that has taken decades. So now it is beginning. New twists are happening with our Caucasian neighbor, Azerbaijan and Armenia. Accordingly, there is a plan for such developments. We are not naming anyone, but those who agree to coordinate actions hostile to Russia must understand that this is a dangerous game. A game involving the military and developments that are hard to anticipate, not only for the region, but for the entire global community.
This video is from one of the Z channels, where Kremlin bloggers hope that during a lecture in the Russian city of Derbent, children are singing in Azerbaijan. And even though Russia is officially an international country, after this it cannot sing a few Azerbaijani songs. Should someone be held responsible for this?
What kind of school leadership is this, where children living in Russia declare that our families are Azerbaijani, in Russia we are gathering agents of an international state? We demand the proper storage of Aliyev's portrait cards, identification and retention of those addressed, and a structural inspection of all such educational assets in schools. Derbent.
In Baku, they are ready for an escalation of the conflict and are not afraid of the Kremlin's enemies. However, they are ready to respond sharply to any provocations.
Today, the Azerbaijani military machine is so large that we could easily contain everything Russia has in Norway. I don't want to boast about it, but that's the reality. Azerbaijan Baku has such a powerful air force, including Israel, Turkey, and the largest Russian S-300 modifications. We will defend our coffee. So what do they have to lose to us? Well, probably, let's say, the Caspian flotilla. Well, maybe they could lose some key positions to Azerbaijan, but after that, this flotilla in the Caspian will come to a halt.
Understood. The Azerbaijani Minister of Defense met with the Turkish Minister of Defense in Istanbul. As a result of the meeting, the two countries reached agreements to support international military security. Azerbaijan also signed a contract with a Baykar company to purchase military equipment and logistical support. Aliyev once again irritates the Kremlin, and Russia can't do anything about it.
That's all the news for today. Thank you for being with us. We read your comments and feel your support. Strength to the Ukrainian defenders. Glory to Ukraine. Subscribe, give us a like, and
every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism, and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.